Takeru is a teenage boy who was bullied by his colleagues for being the weakest, because he is the only one stupid enough to use a sword in a magic school. But when his life was on the line, he made a pact with a legendary weapon, unlocking his true power and becoming the strongest swordsman. Takeru is born into the Kusanagi clan. Their family's bloodline is cursed. All girls are born demons and must be killed by the next heir. One day, Takeru learns he has a younger sister named Kaisuke, who is locked up in the storehouse in the woods, as she was born immortal due to her immense demonic power. Takeru finds his father gravely wounded and discovers that Kaisuke has escaped. Before dying, his father gives him his family sword and lets him choose whether to kill or protect his sister. He walks toward Kaisuke near the cliff and sees her demonic form. She asks him to kill her, but he says he can't kill his own sister and drops his sword. He starts crying and she learns that he's her brother. So with conflicting emotions, she falls from the cliff while yelling for him to save her. With fear in his eyes, Takeru sees the demon getting bigger and bigger and can't stop thinking about how it's all his fault. 5 years later, Takeru has become the captain of the 35th Test Platoon, commonly known as the Small Fry Platoon. They always end up in last place among the platoons in the Anti-Magic Academy. Takeru constantly carries his family sword and is made fun of, as most people believe it's an outdated weapon. Despite this, he puts up with all the insults people level at his pride and brushes it off. Takeru needs to become a highly paid inquisitor, responsible for capturing witches and confiscating magic items. He hopes to pay off the debts left by his deceased parents, and wants to take care of Kaisuke, who is being treated at the Inquisition holding facility to keep her demonic powers from taking over. The platoon, made up of Takeru Kusanagi, Usagi Seonji, and Ikaruga Sujinami, face their current situation. Usagi slams the table while complaining that it's already been a year, yet their total points are still 0 after failing 100 missions. They're interrupted when Saugetsu, the chairman of their academy, barges into the room. He informs them that he brought a backup for their platoon, introducing Utori Aoka, a former official inquisitor. Later that evening, they carry out their plan to capture a group of people involved with illegal trades, hoping to finally raise their points. Takeru sets off on the mission by storming forward with a guard. He acts as a decoy while Aoka fires from behind, and Usagi takes people down by firing her gun at the 7th floor. Takeru finally enters the room to capture the suspects, but 5 of them are already advancing on him with guns pointed. As the men surround him, they notice his sword and make fun of him. Takeru begins to lose his temper as soon as he hears them mocking his family legacy. With startling speed, he wields his sword and slices the bullet in half. The enemies can't believe it and he faces them with a dark aura, brandishing his blade. The men shoot again and, as if a red flow of electricity is coming from Takeru's eyes, he cuts through all of it. Just as he's about to rampage, Takeru suddenly hears his sister's voice and calms down instantly. Aoka jumps from the ceiling and takes the enemies down one by one, using her taser to incapacitate them. Aoka urges Andref to give it up. He refuses and unleashes a spell to call Dragoon, an Inquisitor's weapon. The Dragoon fires multiple bullets at them and Aoka dodges, flipping into the air and hitting the weapon's vital parts. Takeru runs to the scene to check on Aoka, but she has already succeeded in capturing Andref. The team returns to the academy, and Aoka criticizes each of their flaws. She scolds Takeru for being an incompetent captain and tells him he's a disgrace, especially because he only cares about money. Takeru follows Aoka to her family's grave where she tells him that 9 years ago, a witch used her body to kill her own family. She now devotes her entire life to defeating her enemies and abandoning her humanity, and asks if he can do the same. Before he can answer, they hear a loud bomb go off nearby. The two immediately know that it's a terrorist attack that involves Einherjar, the physical embodiment of a hero's soul created by magic. While making their way over, Takeru loses track of Aoka. He slays the ghouls near him, determined to find Einherjar before Aoka does, because her heart is filled with rage. Takeru joins the fight when the Einherjar is about to kill Aoka. Tired of being a young boy with no hope, our sponsor today, Ridge, brings you the ultimate legendary items. The Ridge Wallet, capable of fitting up to 12 cards plus cash. You can choose from over 30 colors and styles. The RFID blocking technology protects you from digital pickpocketers, giving you plot armor in real life. But don't forget the key case, the best option to store up to 6 keys. Even the key to your waifu's heart. Get yours today at ridge.com/anime in minutes. Up to 40% off until December 22nd. She yells that he should run since it is too strong to beat, but he refuses to give up. Takeru charges in and tries to cut through, but the armor is too hard. With a firm strike, he can briefly throw it off balance, and Usagi fires from a distance. When he's about to find an opening, it casts hallmark magic that causes a massive explosion in the area. Takeru is badly hurt by the explosion and contemplates his own demise. Suddenly, Takeru is brought to a strange and heavenly place where a mysterious girl appears and introduces herself as Lapis. She informs him that he has been chosen as her second contractor and asks him to form their contract. She asks if he can abandon what's precious to him to achieve his goals, but with his sister in mind, he firmly answers no. Lapis then questions if he can put his humanity aside to beat the enemy, and Takeru recalls it as Aoka's exact words. Thinking of this, he says yes and the contract is established. Lapis orders him to draw his sword, and when he does, his body begins to heal and is equipped with black and gold armor. Takeru is confused, but Lapis explains that she's from the Relic Eater series, which only Inquisitors can use. With the enemy approaching, he raises his sword and successfully repels Einherjar's assault. Takeru leaps into the air to strike its head with his sword, and Lapis assures him that they can similarly utilize Einherjar's hallmark magic. Runes begin to emerge around Takeru. A blue glow radiates from his sword and the blade absorbs magic from the enemy. He attacks the enemy with swift slashes of his sword, tearing it into pieces and defeating it entirely. After the battle, he tells Aoka that she can rely on him, even though he's not the most reliable guy. He says they're comrades and that he's willing to carry her burden. Slowly, his strength wears off and he falls asleep on her. Later, Sogetsu makes a special mission announcement for their team. He introduces Mary, a witch whose identity must remain hidden from the academy and must be protected by them. During a conversation between Takeru and Mary, he asks her why she joined the Inquisition despite being a witch. She says she wants to change people's perceptions of magic and bring justice against evil witches. With the hope of earning some money for his sister, Takeru decides to sign up the 35th Platoon for a battle event that will be held at the academy. The 15th Platoon's leader, Kyoya, ridicules him for including his team on the list, but Takeru ignores the mockery. The tournament day arrives and the enemy's sniper makes fun of him for carrying a sword. Takeru begins to lose his temper again, but he tries to control himself and acts as a decoy. He is unsuccessful and the other students laugh at him once again. Mary steps into the scene. Takeru orders Aoka to eliminate the enemies while they are distracted, and their synchronization allows them to perform well in combat. Aoka tells Takeru that Mary is allied with Valhalla, a terrorist organization by the Anti-Magic Academy. She reveals that it's where Mary became a murderer. The battle between the group and the 15th Platoon begins. However, Valhalla's commander, Haunted, blocks their path and interrupts them. He approaches Mary and she becomes alarmed. The enraged Valhalla creates a huge cube that traps Takeru's team. Haunted walks toward Mary and Takeru, threatening them. Takeru summons Lapis and prepares to fight. Haunted, however, immediately matches his movements and pierces a sword through his torso, knocking him to the ground. Haunted becomes fully armored and Lapis informs Takeru that it is a hero transformation using a magical item. Haunted continues to pursue Mary and breaks the spell that made her lose her memory. She starts to remember everything and apologizes to Takeru, thinking she betrayed his trust. Takeru refuses to give her to the opponent and Haunted continues to torment Mary with her memories, laughing at her agony. As she starts to break down, Takeru says that instead of punishing herself, she should devote her life to saving people with magic. She comes back to her senses after his offers shoulder her burden. Haunted attacks Takeru, but he quickly defends himself. The enemy hits him and follows it with another blow. Lapis enhances Takeru's sight, and he sees that his enemy leaves his attacks in the air after each attack. Takeru transforms the long sword into a short one for close combat. Throwing Haunted off guard, Takeru uses that moment to swap in a double-hand sword and land multiple blows. Haunted uses a clone of Yoshimitsu, a member of the 15th Platoon, to fight back, putting Takeru at a disadvantage. Aoka and Mary assist him and Takeru catches Haunted's attention. Their swords collide as they both push forward. Lapis borrows his friend's magic so the blade can absorb it, and together they beat Haunted. Haunted asks for Takeru's name and reveals that he knows about his family. He ominously says that this isn't over, then disappears. Takeru visits Kaisuke in the holding facility of the Inquisitors. She's being held for the Inquisitors' experiments as they try to keep the world safe from her. Takeru tells her about his life and she says that she's happy to know. However, he questions her happiness since she spends her life confined in prison and is forced to sleep all the time. Takeru says he wants to create a normal world for her, but is cut off by the guard since his visiting time is over. He reassures Kaisuke that he'll come again. During an encounter with a wizard on the 35th Platoon's mission, Takeru chases him down an alley. However, he stops when he comes across Kaisuke. She says she wanted to see him, but he's frozen in shock as she devours the guy he was chasing. The team arrives at Takeru's location and sees that he's holding Kaisuke. When asking who she is, he points his blade toward Aoka to protect his sister. She realizes that Takeru is suffering and assures him they're not his enemies. They learn about his relationship with Kaisuke. Despite her high threat level, he reassures them that she can't harm them as long as he's with her. Takeru informs the team that his sister is dangerous and has killed everyone in their town. He explains that it's against Kaisuke's will and is caused by the demonic force possessing her. Takeru tries to take Kaisuke back to the facility, but Aoka suggests that he spend time with his sister outside while they still can. Takeru takes Kaisuke on a date so they can bond before sending her back to the facility, but in the middle of a light conversation, she asks him to kill her. She doesn't think she'll get a more special moment with her brother, and she's already happy. Her powers are getting stronger as days go by, and she fears that she may kill more people than she did 5 years ago. But Takeru refuses her wish. He wants her to live, and tells that if he really needs to kill her, he will die too. He promises to protect her even if the world turns against them. While showing Kaisuke around, Kyoya suddenly appears to capture her. Both equip their armor, but they're cut off when Hayato intervenes and stops them. Takeru realizes that the Inquisitors have already captured Kaisuke, and he apologizes, regretting he was unable to show her more of the outside world. Suigetsu walks toward them and tells Takeru that she'll be transferred to a different facility that he's not allowed to know about, since Valhalla is targeting her. As punishment for escorting Kaisuke outside, Takeru and Aoka are confined. But Hashijiro gets them out. She quickly informs Takeru that the vehicle transporting Kaisuke was attacked by Valhalla. Together with the 35th Platoon, they rush toward the location. He finally finds Kaisuke, but Kyoya can't stand living with demons and is determined to kill her. Takeru tries to convince him to stop, but he opens fire. Takeru uses the smoke from the explosion to surprise him with an attack, and with a burst of power, he slices Kyoya's weapon into pieces. Aoka backs him up when Kyoya tries to attack him. Realizing that Takeru's team has cornered him, he flees from the scene and jumps to the river. Takeru runs to Kaisuke and frees her from her ties. While carrying her, her demon shows him the torment she faces and how she wants to die. Tears flow from his eyes as he sees his sister's suffering. Suddenly, he gets stabbed from behind by Haunted, knocking him unconscious. In Takeru's mind, he wonders what could have happened if he hadn't run away 5 years ago. Whether it was protecting or killing his sister, he should have made a decision back then. Lapis suddenly appears and offers to grant him power. She's willing to give him everything she has if he does the same. She asks him again if he can abandon what's precious to him, as well as abandon his humanity to achieve his goals. Takeru's eyes widen as he remembers everything he's gone through. Finally, he accepts Lapis' offer and switches his armor into God Hunter mode. Takeru enters the battlefield and decides to go on without the team. Aoka tries to stop him, believing that he shouldn't suffer the same fate as hers. He lands at Kaisuke's location, where he sees her monstrous form invading the city. She wishes again for him to kill her, but Haunted appears before them. Losing his temper, he charges at Haunted and demands he gets out of the way. The latter refuses, claiming that Kaisuke is important to Valhalla and that he'll take her with him. Kaisuke interferes, believing that she'll die together with Takeru. While fighting Haunted, Takeru knows he regrets being unable to kill Kaisuke. Although he was given a choice whether to protect or kill her, he didn't choose either. This time, Takeru wants to make a choice and stay true to it. He refuses to sacrifice his sister, friends, or his own life. While Haunted finds him naive, Takeru wishes to return with Kaisuke and his friends. Slowly, Kaisuke comes to terms with what she really wants, and faces another internal conflict with her demon. Haunted tries to distract him, but Takeru notices that Kaisuke is slowly being devoured by her demon. To counterattack, he uses his double-edged technique, slicing his enemy into pieces. After defeating Haunted, he goes to help Kaisuke break free from her monstrous demonic body. With a smile on his face, Takeru embraces her and tells her to return with him. He promises that he's willing to do whatever it takes to save and protect her. Soon enough, the light shines on them, and together they watch the sunrise in peace. This is all for this anime. Give the video a like, and I will see you in the next minutes.